Gonna do a little setting up an airless sprayer. It might be a little different between whatever pump you're using, but it'll be about the same for all of them. Airless hose. So these airless hoses are so stiff. So you can get a whip on the end where your gun is, so it's much easier to get in those tight places. And it's less fatigue on your arm. But we're gonna get our other end and just hook it straight up into this 1/4 inch connection. I have 2 wrenches, basically leave them preset, but sometimes I get messed up. Just snug it up just a little, and that's plenty good. As you see, I leave a little Velcro strap. It's easier to carry the hose around. I don't like to leave it hooked up to the sprayer itself. And a little trick I do with my gun, my spray gun, and my tips, spray tips, I soak them in paint thinner. For the spray tips, you're always going to have a little residue left through, and I don't even bother cleaning them that good. I just kind of clean the outside of them and just throw them in here. Paint never hardens, and then when I go to spray, I'll just switch the tip around and blow it out. You'll have a little bit of this just junk from all the paint that gets in there. Just scrub it off. I like to use the nylon, not the brass brushes, so it doesn't scratch everything up. Just go ahead and get all this freaking crap off of here. Not gonna go too crazy. Here we're checking our gun filter. I just use airless sprayer for spraying trim and cabinets, so I don't really bother with. This is a 60. I don't even bother with these. I just don't have any 100 mesh, and I'm just showing you guys anyway. But slides right in. Put the gun back together. Even if you sprayed before last time and you don't take your gun apart when you clean it, check the filter, clean the junk off of it if it's still good. We're going to take our other end of our hose with the whip on it, hook it up to the gun. If your gun has a swivel on it, kind of just hold it till you get it set up. Take your 1 wrench, get it on the end of the gun, the other one for the hose. Same thing, just snug. Now we're ready. Prime the system. I forgot to say, I like to put a tarp down before I put the sprayer down, because it's waterproof, and usually I just have paper down, so it'll just soak right through the paper. Just use a little bit of this. There you go. Alright, now we're ready to plug this baby in. I like to do everything before. Get the hose and the gun set up before I even bother plugging it in. And you want to use at least a 12 gauge cord. This is a 10 gauge, but you don't want to starve your power tools of power. And you're gonna have a clean bucket of water if you're using a water-based product, which I'm just gonna be using real quick. I always leave the pump filled with paint thinner as well. It'll just knock loose everything that maybe I didn't clean, but I cleaned it pretty good. So we're just gonna set this up. This is just a junk bucket. You're just gonna spray like watery paint in and anything that comes out of this thing. Siphon tube, and then that's the prime. So now we're ready. You turn the power on and just let it run for a little bit. Let it run all the junk out. The orange is my paint thinner. I just reused it so it's not thin. I'm just gonna let that run for a little bit. Now we'll take our gun to reduce the mess, squeeze our trigger, stick it on the side of the bucket so it doesn't splash back all over the place. It's gonna splash a little bit still, but I'm gonna set that there. It's already switched to spray. I'm gonna slowly turn it on. Let it flush it out. The hose is dry right now, so it'll take a little bit. I just have my finger on the speed control, so getting some water coming out. We're gonna let that flush for a little bit. I don't know, 30 seconds if you want to feel safe. This is probably good enough. Now the pump has, I don't know, 1,000 or so PSI. Keep your damn finger, just treat it like a real gun, alright? Don't point it at anything, it'll kill you. We're gonna switch it, we're gonna turn our pump off, dump the pressure. So all the pressure just shot, whatever was in the hose shot out through there to relieve the system. Now, to get ready for paint, we're gonna lift our siphon tube out of the water. Make sure it's on prime. Turn it on for a couple seconds until this basically stops. Get our water out of here, we don't need it. Now we got our paint. Now let's stick our siphon tube in. And same thing. Paint's thicker, so the machine might work a little harder. We still got water. Getting there. Jeez, we'll turn it up. We got paint coming out. We'll let it run in here for a little bit. I like to just leave it in there. People like to leave the prime tube in their waste bucket so it stays clean, but it doesn't really matter to me. Now we take our gun again. Nope, there's no pressure yet. Take our safety off. No pressure. Now we're going to switch to spray. Same thing. It's going to get a little louder because paint's thicker than water, so. So it's just water right now. It's going to start kicking up here. Now we're cooking. Now we got pure paint coming out. Just leave it. We'll relieve the system again. Just so when I switch it to here, when I switch it from my waste into the paint, I don't make a huge mess all over everything. So now we'll depress our trigger again and then turn on the pump and let the paint just cycle through a little bit. So we got pure paint coming out. I like to just Be extra cautious with it. Get everything out. If you get a little water in there, in a water base, it's really not going to mess it up that much. And now, we're all set. Remember, it's pressurized right now. You got to turn the pump off and relieve the pressure. Then you'd be safe. Now, I'll go back into my spray bucket where I keep all my tips, tip guards, and the gun itself, and brushes and things to clean it up. Use my gloves. It's just paint thinner, but it's best to keep it out of your body anyway. And we're going to grab our spray tip here if I can find it. We're going to use, I like to use a 210 for my primers, Graco fine finish low pressure. And I like to use a 208, 308 fine finish tip for finish. Now, the only tips I use are the Graco and this Tritech 208. I've tried the Titan. I don't like them at all. So now I really don't bother cleaning the tip off unless it has a bunch of junk on it. But I don't know if you can see in the camera. It's pretty clean in there anyway. I keep everything pretty clean. And it's easier when you have it soaking in the paint thinner. It'll be easier to clean up. But I'm just wiping off the paint thinner because I'm using a water base, so I don't want any dripping over the surface if I was spraying a horizontal surface. Just gonna wipe all this pretty clean. Then we'll put it on our gun. These Graco, I don't know if you're familiar, but they have this locking thing, so you have to get this little, they have this locking thing, so you have to get this little notch to match that notch. And it slides in. So that's your blowing out if you get a tip clog, and then this is your spray, and then it's locked in. It's not going to fall out. So that's another reason why I like Graco a lot. We're going to put our guard on. Just get in the habit of going around and not putting your hand in front, because you can just get an injection right there. Even if it's just practice. Now, we're ready to set up our pressure for our spray tip. So I'm just gonna switch the spray, turn it up a little bit, just a little bit past. I'm gonna switch my tip around, blow anything out that might be in there. Now we're ready to go. It's pressurized, keep your hands away, be safe. Alright, we got our whole system set up. Now we're just going to set our pressure, so we'll just take it. That actually doesn't look too bad. I'll actually turn it down a little bit so you can see what it looks like when you have tails. Man, that's still spraying great. So I actually had to turn down the pressure a little bit. This stuff sprays at super low pressure. This is probably only at like 1400 psi. But this is with it lowered. See, I have an inconsistent spray pattern. And most of the time you'll have these two tails that run down the edge. So you really want to turn up the pressure until the tails eliminate and you have a nice uniform finish. So we'll just turn it up a little bit. We'll try again here. You see, that's a lot better. We'll go just a little more. Alright, I just turned up the pressure a little bit more for the spray to keep up to me. Now we got a great spray pattern on either side, nice and feathered. And yeah, that's about it. Setting her up.